Okay, so yeah, on from cockroaches and ants and indoxacarb onto the future of LED fly control. We've got Fred Hurstel from Pestwest. If I can ask Fred to pop his camera on and let me just get my screen up. There we go. Fabulous. Hi there, Fred. How you doing? Oh,
hi, Natalie. Good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning. Great. Well, listen, introductions and talk to us about fly control. That would be amazing. Thank you. I'll leave you to it.
Yes, let me first share my screen, if I may.
I'll let you know when it's popped up and it's all ready to go. And just to say as well, while you're doing that, to everyone listening, I know quite a few people struggle to log on for some reason. So if you missed a lot of Richard's presentation, you'll be able to look at it on the BPCA YouTube page and on our web pages if you do want to look at Richard's presentation again. If you joined a bit late, just an FYI for everyone that struggled logging on.
Yeah, talking of struggle, I seem to have a bit of an issue with sharing. I do apologize. Is that coming on now?
Yeah, so if you just start your slideshow, it should start on it. There we go. Fabulous. It's working well.
Fantastic. Well, that's helpful. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you to the BPCA for allowing Pestwest to present and discuss the very rapid expansion of UVA LED insect light traps. I'm Fred Hurstel. I have been with Pestwest Electronic, find it hard to believe, but for 30 years now. And what's happening now in our micro industry, which is the industry of insect light traps, I think it's the biggest revolution, at least of the last 20 years. So today's presentation, we will explain what is behind the very rapid expansion of UVA LED technology. We will discuss the efficacy of UVA LED versus traditional technology, which is fluorescent tubes. We will give some general guidelines to pest control companies as to how to transit from fluorescent tube technology to LED technology. And finally, we will answer one of the most heard questions currently, which is, what do we do with all the units using fluorescent tubes we have been selling in the last years? So we start now with explaining the background information behind this rapid expansion of LED technology. There's three main aspects that have driven this market, LED market forward. There's the legislation, the monetary savings or the financial aspect, and sustainability. We'll start with the legislation. There's a lot of information on that slide. Let's go through it gently. We're talking about the ROCH directive. The ROCH directive is the restriction of hazardous substances. It is a European directive that's been going on for a number of years, but that is becoming stricter and stricter. It is applicable in the UK. What it is, in simple terms, it puts obligations onto manufacturers to reduce or avoid utilizing harmful substances in their production process. What we mean by that, harmful substances, here are a few examples. You've got mercury, you've got lead, you've got cadmium. Today, we will mainly focus on mercury. Why mercury? Because every single fluorescent tube needs a little bit of mercury to operate. Because of that need and the toxicity of mercury, the European Commission has banned the manufacture in Europe of fluorescent tubes for general lighting since September 2023. Now, this manufacturing ban does not apply to UV. Why? Because the technology behind UV is a bit behind compared with general lighting, which obviously had a lot more investment than UV, which is more of a niche market. So there is a grace period in our industry allowing manufacturers to produce UVA fluorescent tubes until at least February 2027. The date is not set in stone. We believe that there could be an extension of the grace until February 2028. Pestwest, and I think I can speak for other manufacturers, or most of them, they will be able to supply fluorescent tubes for their units until 27, 28 at least. Other elements of the legislation that are behind the development of LED is another EU directive, is the Energy Efficiency Directive. It's loosely applicable in the UK under the ESOS scheme, which is the Energy Savings Opportunity Scheme. What it is generally is that larger companies, particularly in the food manufacturing sector, are under obligation to reduce their carbon and plastic footprints. They're under obligation to implement an energy management system. So these companies will be looking for, amongst other things, electrical appliances that consume as little electricity as possible and impact the environment as little as possible. In addition to that, we've got a popular norm, or norm that's gaining popularity, which is the ISO 5001 standard. This is not compulsory. It's for end users wanting to put a management system in place to reduce their carbon and plastic footprints. So there's a whole set of legislations there that is pushing towards the end of fluorescent tube technology, and also pushing the market towards more sustainable solutions. The second aspect behind the rapid development of LED technology is the energy savings. On this slide, we're looking at the UK market. I know we've got a panel, an audience that comprises also of international companies, but here the focus is on the UK. What we're looking at is the power consumption on the left-hand side on the screen of our Chameleon Qualis, which is our LED unit, wall-mounted LED unit that uses 2 LED tubes. That unit is gradually replacing our industry standard unit, which is the Chameleon 1x2, which uses 2 15-watt T8 fluorescent tubes and a magnetic ballast. We can see here on the chart that the Qualis, the LED unit, consumes 3 times less than our Chameleon 1x2. So for an end user, the saving per unit based on an average cost of electricity of 25p per kilowatt is £60 per unit. Large end users, if they can have 10, 20, 30, 40 units or more, then the savings can reach thousands of pounds in electricity per year. Generally, without comparing just Pestwest models, the LED technology will provide very significant savings in electricity. An LED unit will consume below half of what the equivalent fluorescent tube unit consumes. The third main reason for the expansion of UVA LED technology is what we call the sustainable theme, the willingness that everybody has or should have to lower environmental impact. So the LED technology is without any mercury. The replacement frequency for the LED light source, being a LED strip or an LED tube, is every 3 years, compared with every year for a fluorescent tube. So that there's far less consumables being used with an LED unit. Furthermore, for end users, as we discussed earlier, that are wanting to reduce their carbon and plastic footprints, the LED technology really fits fits into that scheme. There are already many UVA LED ILTs on the market. The technology was launched over 5 years ago. Typically, those units have what we call surface-mounted LEDs, which are high-intensity LEDs, LED points, as it were. I'm sure the pest controllers are familiar with them. Typically, those units will have a strip or a tube comprising of 6, 8, 10, 12 LEDs that are projecting the light forward. When we looked at that technology and fitted it in our traditional unit, the Chameleon 1x2, to check the efficacy, well, the test was done 3 years ago, at least. We're quite disappointed. And the flying insect control performance were very negatively affected. We tried to understand why. There are fundamental differences between the way fluorescent tubes will emit compared with an LED strip or tube. The fluorescent tube will emit over a 360-degree radius, and the emission is spread throughout the surface, the glass surface of the tube. So we're looking at a different distribution of the UV compared with a LED strip that only emits UV through the LED dots and only forward. The other aspect is that the fluorescent tube emits a lot more light in the visible spectrum. So if a traditional unit is switched on, you can see it from a distance, as it were, whereas an LED unit, if you're further away, you might be hard pushed to know whether it's switched on or not. So these are fundamental differences between the fluorescent tube emission and the LED emission using surface-mounted LED dots. So Pestwest decided to look for an alternative solution that wasn't going to negatively impact the flycatch. It got us thinking, and we now have a completely different LED technology compared to what is available in the market. We've developed that technology with a leading manufacturer of lighting. How is our technology different? Basically, it's an LED filament technology. Every LED tube has got over 400 emission points within the tube, 432 to be precise. That light is emitted through a radius of 360. So in a way, we are matching, in terms of the distribution of UV, the fluorescent tube closer than certainly a surface-mounted LED strip or tube would do. With that technology, that is also more energy efficient, according to our test between our own units, we're actually not losing any ability in terms of flight control. In fact, more recent tests are showing that there is a slight gain in terms of flight control. We mentioned about the better energy efficiency. In this particular case, we're comparing the Pestwest suspended unit, suspended from the ceiling, which is a double-sided unit, the Chameleon 2x2, which uses traditional technology, so 4 15-watt tubes, T8, and a magnetic ballast. That unit will consume 80 watts. The replacement unit we have is the Chameleon Stellaris, which you can see here on the screen. That unit only consumes 13 watts. We're using the greater energy efficiency of the Quantum X LED filament technology and its emission over a 360-degree radius to good effect, allowing us to have a product that consumes significantly less than its equivalent using traditional technology, and also in some instances less than other LED products. With that particular unit, you have a saving for the end user approaching £150 per unit. If you look at the figures for just 10 units, that's £1,500. So it is very significant. The Stellaris consumes 6 times less than its equivalent using fluorescent tubes. That has allowed us to develop a broad range of LED units. We and other manufacturers still have within our portfolio traditional unit using fluorescent tubes. So what is our advice for pest controllers? What should they be offering? Should they continue with fluorescent tubes? Fluorescent tubes will be available, as we said earlier in the presentation, for a few more years. Our general advice is pretty simple. We're advising pest controllers to switch as early as possible towards LED technology because of their greater efficacy and their much, much lower impact on the environment. That switch should be done with varying degrees of urgency if the pest controller is looking to offer to its customers what we call specialist models. Specialist models are models, for example, that have an ATEX accreditation or a very high IP rating. For these models, we're not just looking at the obsolescence of the fluorescent tubes, but we're looking at the current or soon to happen obsolescence of critical parts that are relevant to the lighting circuit. These models will use specific IP rated, for example, lamp holders that are in the process of being withdrawn from manufacture. Looking at the higher value of these products, it's important for pest controllers to offer future-proof LED units in that product category. Another category where the switch to LED should be really done now is when the insect light trap is using what we would call a less popular UVA fluorescent tube. If we take the case of Pestwest, we have been using a 14-watt T5 fluorescent tubes in several of our models. Now, that particular tube will no longer be manufactured before the official manufacturing ban kicks in. And the same could be for other fluorescent tubes that are less popular, like tight-bend compact tubes or circular tubes. So in these instances, it is important immediately for the pest controllers to offer the LED products. The last category we're looking at, which is the most popular category, is the ILT, the insect light traps, using the industry standard 15-watt T8 fluorescent tube. The vast majority of insect light traps that have been sold in the UK and in Europe over the last 20 years will be using that particular type of fluorescent tube. That means that it will probably be the last tube for which the manufacturer will end. So there will be availability up until at least probably 2028. Furthermore, because they're so popular, manufacturers will look at solutions, options to prolong the life of those units beyond the ban. Nonetheless, for the advantages we've explained earlier, the switch to LED should happen progressively here. Now we'll answer the big question that we keep hearing. What happens to equipment with conventional fluorescent tubes? There's hundreds of thousands of these units using the 15-watt T8 fluorescent tube out in the market in Europe. There's tens of thousands, no doubt, in the UK. Some of them have been sold last year. Some of them are still being sold today. It seems rather inconceivable that within the space of a couple of years, everything has to be replaced with LED technology. End users which have invested in those units in recent times will not be very keen to replace everything by LED products immediately. These end users typically are aware of what we call retrofit technology for general lighting. It is, in fact, this retrofit technology that we will talk about as a solution or as an option regarding the existing units. So for these existing units, using traditional technology, so it's the fluorescent tubes and the magnetic ballast, there are two options for pest controllers. They can continue, indeed, for a couple of years to use the fluorescent UVA tubes, tried and trusted option, guaranteed performance. However, again, there will be some pressure from end users wanting to reduce their carbon and plastic footprints, wanting to obtain the ISO 50001 accreditation. These will want an LED solution now. Of course, they can invest in a new product, but in some cases, they will not want to do that if they've invested in the classic fluorescent tube technology in recent times. So for these customers, the LED retrofit option is interesting. It is emerging now as an option on the market since the middle of last year. What these retrofits and important points are only suitable for units fitted with magnetic ballast and starters. They will not be suitable if the unit with fluorescent tube is using an electronic ballast. Thankfully, the majority of units sold, ILTs, with fluorescent tubes are using the combination of magnetic ballast and starter. In order to convert a unit, again, we will look at the core Pestwest range. We're looking at the models we've sold the most in the last 25 years. There's 3 of them. The Chameleon 1x2, which is a classic wall-mounted unit with 2 15-watt tubes. The 2x2 we spoke about earlier, which is a suspended unit with 4 15-watt tubes. And the Chameleon Uplight, which is a front-of-house unit with 1 single 15-watt tube. For those models, it is possible today to convert them into an LED unit. The conversion is simple. There's no need for an electrician, so it's something that the pest controller can do. The three steps to take, of course. One needs first to unplug the unit, evidently, then replace the fluorescent tubes by LED retrofit tubes, replace the starters by LED starters, and importantly, replace the glue board by an LED optimized glue board. This is important. Without doing this, the retrofitted LED Chameleon 1x2 will perform far worse than its version with fluorescent tubes. Why is this necessity? The fluorescent tubes, when running, is hot, very hot, in fact, whereas the LED retrofit is cold. Therefore, the glue on its surface is not softened up anymore when using a retrofitted Chameleon 1x2, hence the need to use a different, softer glue. If those 3 replacement steps are undertaken, according to the lab tests we've done independently, of course, the fly catch comparing the retrofitted 1x2 is similar to the 1x2 with fluorescent tubes. What are the benefits of retrofitting a Chameleon or other units? The LED retrofit technology, being LED, is mercury-free, it's environmentally sustainable. There is a 3-year replacement cycle, and there is a low power consumption. As you can see on the chart on this slide, there is a significant reduction in power consumption between the 1x2 and 2x2 units fitted with fluorescent tubes and their retrofitted versions. We cannot quite, however, match the energy efficiency of the LED filament technology, neither can we quite match its ability in terms of fly control. Nonetheless, for existing units recently purchased, that is an option for pest control companies to consider. That is our last slide, just to sum up the sustainable philosophy of Pestwest. We are very actively promoting our LED filament technology and advising all actors in the industry, the pest controllers, the end users, to adopt the LED technology because of its significantly reduced environmental impact. However, when a chameleon or another unit has been recently sold, it's not very environmentally responsible to put that unit in the trash or dispose of it because it's a perfectly working unit. For that unit, there is the option to use the retrofit technology. We would recommend generally that option for newly sold equipment. There is not much point if an end user has a number of IoTs on site that has been running for 7, 8, 10 years to invest in an LED retrofit in those units. It would be a bit like putting a new engine in an old car. Other parts may start to fail. So the retrofit option is really an option for a recently purchased unit that will prolong the life of the fluorescent IoT for a further 3 years, possibly allowing the end user to budget for, after the 3-year period ends, brand new, better performing LED ILTs. That leaves me to thank you for your attention and a little bit of time potentially for the Q&A. I don't know if there has been any question. I've not had a look in that Q&A section.
Indeed, yeah. There's a couple that come in perfect timing. We've got sort of good for 4 or 5 minutes for questions. There's a few comments generally about the LED, which I'll come to in a moment. Just some specific questions. Is there a conversion kit for the Titan 300 units?
It's a very specific question. I mean, we are focused on the equipment that we have sold the most in the last 25 years, which is the ILT community we mentioned. It is possible to retrofit a Titan 300 already today. However, the retrofit technology on offer is the surface-mounted LED technology, so with the high-intensity LED dots. In the Titan 300, the efficacy of the trap in terms of fly control will be lessened, particularly if the Titan 300 is suspended from the ceiling. So at the moment, we're not proactively advising that option at the moment, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. In terms of industry standards for the efficacy of insects, sorry, people keep putting questions in and it keeps disappearing. So there are no industry standards for efficacy testing on insect light traps. And would Pestwest support an industry-wide agreed testing method? Is that something you've ever looked at or considered?
We do. We would support that. I mean, we follow a certain method for our tests, which are done in an independent lab. What it is, it's a unit that's put under particular laboratory conditions. 100 Musca domestica are launched, and we're assessing how quickly the trap will catch those insects. Mm-hmm. I think other manufacturers of IoTs are using that method, and it could indeed become a benchmark.
Maybe more industry discussion. I mean, some of the comments put in early on were regarding, fluorescent tubes. And there's a lot of people that are still going around saying that they're not available anymore, which obviously we know not necessarily technically the case. But I think, there's a comment about whether or not BPCA, working with yourselves, can get some more information out there for the industry regarding this subject. Because there's actually maybe not enough of it. So yeah, maybe we can work with you in the future to get a bit more information out there about the changes. But Paul here says, do the LEDs have to be replaced annually, and are they shatterproof for the food industry?
Ooh, the replacement cycle for LED either tubes or LED strips is 3 years. Compared with fluorescent, that's every year. Shatterproofing the tube is mainly a requirement when the glass enclosure is considered. So it depends which LED option the pest controller is using. If it's a Pestwest unit, it's simple. It is a glass tube, therefore it has to be shatterproof.
Mm-hmm.
There is some debate regarding whether LED tubes using a plastic casing should be shatterproofed as well or not. It depends on the requirements of the end users. Certainly in glass exclusion zone, it doesn't have to be shatterproofed. Now, an LED retrofit can potentially shatter, but the spread of the fragments would be far less damaging than the glass would be, because the glass shatters in thousands of pieces that are projected far away, whereas a plastic casing would maybe break in 5, 6, 7 parts, and that would stay closer to the impact.
Indeed, yeah, no, good description. Well, listen, Fred, that was amazing. There's a couple more sort of comments and questions in the Q&A section. I don't know if you can see that on there, but just as Richard's still answering a few ones from your previous presentation, but would you mind popping on the Q&A, and you can have an option to type answer and just get some comments out there for the viewers to do?
Absolutely, we'll handle the Q&A now. But of course, if the viewers are wanting to ask further questions, they can reach out to us through the website or directly to us through our email address. We will be very pleased to inform them further.
Great, that's absolutely fantastic. And again, thank you, Fred, for talking to us about LED tubes. So yeah, great, thank you so much. We'll all go and grab a coffee now, I think, for a little 10-minute break, and yeah, we'll see you all back here in 9 minutes at 11 AM, please. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.